Good morning to all of you. I welcome you to this session on RDBMS. In today's session, I'll be discussing the concepts of PLSQL with you. So I'm going to start a SQL session here. Going to make the necessary connections in some environmental settings. Now, as I discussed in my previous class with you guys, that PLSQL is a block structured language. And there are two types of blocks in PLSQL, namely the anonymous block and the subprogram. We have started learning the anonymous block. And I'll just open up a file that we covered yesterday in our class. This is how an anonymous block looks like. There is another section known as the exception section, which you can write if you want to handle your runtime exceptions. So there are four sections here: declare, begin, and then exception and end. Okay. And while you are writing your scripts for PLSQL, you write them using the editor and you put a semicolon at the end of your code. That is mandatory. If you don't do that, there would be an error, right? Then obviously, there are different ways to execute your code. The first one obviously is to display the file on screen, okay, with the get command, and then a slash to execute the code, right? Okay. So we have not written anything in the exception section. That's why the error, okay, right? So we can just rectify it here. When we use exceptions, then you'll understand what mechanism we follow to use exceptions. So right now we can do it without the exception section. Okay, and if we run it, yeah, we put an error yesterday in our code, I remember, right? We put a comma here to discuss like how the error is displayed. So I'll just elaborate that thing further, that if there is error in your code, two things are there, okay? One is the error message, okay? And one is the error number. You can see the error number right in front of you, ORA-06550. So every error has got an error number and an error message associated with it, right? And let's rectify this. Let's just correct. We need to put two pipe symbols here to concatenate our outputs in the put_line method, right? Then again, we can list the file using get, and we can execute it with a slash. Okay. Now the output is not being displayed. Okay, this is because we have started a session. Then we must, activate this environmental setting once. Set server output on. Okay. Once done, then it will redirect all the outputs from put_line method on to screen, right? So if I now run it, it will show you the output as sum is 33, right? And then you can use this option here, set verify off, okay? Because if you are using input in your code, like you've done here, okay? You're using an input, so it will verify with the old and the new values. If you don't want that, just use this option, set verify off. And once again, you can run your code and the output would be there. And this message here, I think we can take care of it by using this set feed off. It's a sort of a feedback, so we can use set feed off to get rid of this message, I suppose, right? Let's try it. Yeah, right. So the feedback which the Oracle engine gives at the end of every execution, then you can just put it in off mode using this set feedback off. Set verify off, you don't want to see these prompts of old and new values, right? So this is what we discussed in our previous section, right? Another look how you can execute this code. The second way would be using the @. Okay, so just write @ your file name, right? Now the file is not listed here; it is simply executed. Okay. if you want to execute your file without listing it, you can use one option as @ and then followed by your PLSQL file name or the SQL file name, right? Then another way would be using the start keyword, start A2, and again it will execute your code. Okay, so these are the different ways you can see. Get is there, get would list the file and then you can execute it. @ and start, you can directly execute your file without listing the code on the screen, right? Now let's discuss like what sort of programming we require in this PLSQL block. But before that, I'll be discussing some conditional statements and looping statements with you, so that then we can work easily with our PLSQL programming. Okay. So let's see how we can write the if statement, right? How we can write the if statement. So I'll just write one code for that. I'll open up a new file. Okay. I can give a message here. To understand the working of if statement in PLSQL, right? So as you know, 2 hyphen double hyphen would mean that this is a comment. Then you can use a declare section here. You can declare a variable. I'll take up a simple example to begin with. I can declare a variable here, okay? And then I can start the begin section. Here I can input the value of A. Okay, so I can write something like number here. So when this statement is executed, it will give you a prompt, enter value for number. Okay, this is a message which comes in the prompt, and the value gets stored on the variable on the left hand side. And this colon equal to is the assignment operator in PLSQL. So I've inputted a number, okay, and then I can write something like if I can use maybe the mod operator here. If mod a comma 2, this is the arithmetic function that you've used, is equal to 0, then okay, and then you can write here RDBMS underscore output dot put underscore line, and you can put a message here, concatenate it. Some message like this you can give here, and you can copy it here, put use an else clause, and then you can paste it here, right? You can write here A is odd. Basically just check how if needs to be written here, okay? And then you must follow it with an end if. End if is written with end space if. So this is the syntax of if statement. If this condition, you may put it in parentheses, you can write without parentheses also, and then keyword is required, else obviously you know, and then this end if is written like this, right? And then you can put an end statement here, okay? So let's save it, let's list it on screen, let's run it. Okay, so some error, so you can see if there is some error, obviously it will prompt you there. So DBMS underscore output, right? DBMS underscore output dot put underscore line. Okay, this was the error, right? And then I can list and I can run. Okay, so you can see 11 is odd. So just see this program now. Have a good look at it, how it works. You've declared a number here. This is a declaration part. Then you have inputted. Okay, so when you input, obviously, whatever message you give here comes as a prompt for you. Enter value for, and then this enter value for string is always there, and followed by whatever prompt you've given here. And whatever value you provide, it gets stored in the variable on the left. And then you're using this mod function that you've learned in arithmetic functions category, that if modulus of A is equal to 0, modulus of A taken with 2 is 0, then obviously the number is even, otherwise the number is odd. See the structure of it? It is if, then, else, and. Right? This is the way you write the if statement in PLSQL. All right. Let's run it again using I'm doing it, many number of times so that you get accustomed to it. So start A3, okay. And say it says number is even, right? Similarly, at the rate A3, okay, you run it and it will tell you whatever the output is, whether even or odd. Let's pick up another program here. Let's write another program here to print, say, greatest of three numbers, right? Greatest of three numbers. Writing these codes so that you can understand the various ways in which if or the if else or the else if statement can be written. So to print the greatest of three numbers, so as usual, I can declare three numbers here. Right? I can declare the three numbers here. Right. Then I can input these numbers. I can input these numbers. So some prompt like number 1 can be written here. Then I can copy it for the other prompts. Then what I can do here is I can use an else if ladder. You've used it already in some programming languages, C, C++, Python. Just see how it is written in PL/SQL code, right? So I'll write here if A is greater than B and A is greater than C. Then obviously A is the biggest, is the largest, right? So RDBMS underscore output dot put underscore line. You can write here A is the largest number. Give some prompt like this. And you can copy it, of course, for similar messages. Now, how else if is written, kindly note, it's written like this. Okay. So else if, you can write here B is greater than A and B is greater than C. Then obviously you can write something like this, and you can put the value of B here. And another else if you can follow, you may write a full one here, C greater than A and C greater than B. See the usage of then clause, okay? And then you can copy it here, right? Something like this, right? And then you must follow it with the end if statement. This is one way of doing it. And then the end statement. So have a good look at this program, the three declarations. Just increase this screen size. Yeah. To print, this is a message, this is a comment. Then the declaration section, the begin section, you've inputted three values here. And then you check this if statement. You've got multiple alternatives. So you can use this else if clause. Just see how else if is written. Right. So let's run this code here. The file is A4. Okay. I'll list the file A4 on screen. Then I'll run it. You can see 33 is the largest number. Right. Just see how we have taken care of this ladder. So we start the ladder from here, this if statement, right? If this expression is true, then this is executed and you are shifted to the next statement after the end if keyword, right? If this expression is false, obviously we check the next expression. Okay. So one of these expressions will be true, that associated statement would be executed and will be out of this else if ladder. I could also have written it like this with the last else if placed with this else, right? Like this. This is another way, because if A is not bigger, B is not bigger, then C is the biggest. And kindly see that the variable names are not case sensitive. Okay, you may write it in any case. Better to write it in one case, it looks better, right? So otherwise, PL/SQL is not a case sensitive language. It is a case insensitive language. So this way also you can run it using this start A4, right? You can see 32 is the largest number, right? So this is how you can write the else if clause in if statement, right? Then let's write a program which uses loops. Let's see how we can use loops in PLSQL. Let's go with another program here. To check the working of loops in PLSQL, right? I can use a declare section here. I can declare some variable here, okay? Or I can go with a simple loop here. Let's see how we can write it. Say begin. So we have a while loop and a for loop in PLSQL, like you have in other languages. Okay. So for goes like this. Say for I in say 1.10. Okay. And then we write the word loop and then the word end loop, right? So I'll just nest it a little bit inside. So this is the for loop, okay? For is written like this in PLSQL. So say for, this is some control variable I, okay? This variable need not be declared, okay? It's not declared, it's not required to be declared. And then it ranges over the values from 1 to 10 with a step size of +1. You cannot increase this step size in PLSQL. In a for loop, it would always be a +1, right? And then maybe you can write here RDBMS underscore output dot put underscore line, and you can just print I here, okay? Something like this, right? Semicolon here, and then you can put an end here. Okay, this is a simple loop I've taken. See that I can write my PLSQL code with just a begin and an end block. I don't require declare, I don't require exception. Okay. And obviously this for loop, it will range from 1 to 10. So first I would be 1, then it would be 2, till 10 it will go on. And during that, whatever statements are written between loop and end loop would be executed. So that is the value of I would be printed. So let's see the output of this code. Code name is A5. Okay. All right. Again, something we have missed. Let's write it like RDBMS underscore output. We are making this error again and again. So I can write this, and obviously I print all the numbers from 1 to 10. So simple, you see the loop statement, loop and end loop statement, whatever statements are written between end loop and end loop are executed, so long as this for loop ranges from this, value, the starting value, the ending value. The step size is always +1 in PLSQL. And remember, this variable need not be declared. You may declare it if you wish, but it is not required. And it is known as the index variable or the control variable, which controls your for loop, right? So let's now look towards another program here, and let's see the working of while loop here. Right, working of while loop. So here I can declare some variables, say I. Okay, and then in the begin section, I can write the while statement here. While I is less than or equal to 10, right? And then I can write the same way the loop and the end loop statement. The usage is easy. Just understand the concept. So whatever you write between loop and end loop would be executed so long as this condition I less than equal to 10 is true. So if I print it here, this time I'll write put completely, right? RDBMS underscore output dot put underscore line. I'll print the value of I, right? And then you see, if I write it just like this, if I write it just like this, you understand the programming concept here. I've not initialized one here. See, okay. So I must initialize I here. So I'll initialize it to say 1. Okay, this is the way you can initialize. And then this condition would be checked each time with the value of I. If I just let it be like this, it would be an infinite loop and printing the value of I as 1 all the time. So you must increase the value of I as I is equal to I plus 1. Kindly note how you need to write this. I is equal to I plus 1 using a colon equal to assignment as we do in PLSQL. Okay. So this program would give you a similar output to what you see here, right? What you're seeing here on screen, right? So let's run this. Let's first save it. and get this on screen. Okay, and if you run it, obviously it will display all the values from 1 to 5, 1 to 10, I'm sorry. And this is the way you can use the loops in PLSQL. Once again, let's revisit. For loop, we require a variable here, which need not be declared, and then the keyword in. So for this variable in, you need to write range here. Okay, the syntax is initial value, then 2 dots, final value. The increment in a for loop is always by +1. Remember this thing. Okay, the increment in a for loop is always +1. You cannot alter it in PLSQL. And then the keywords loop and end loop, whatever you write between loop and end loop, all those statements would be executed so long as I ranges from 1 to 10, like here in this case. The moment I becomes 11, we come out of this loop and loop and we come to the next statement after this. Then similar to this is your while statement. Obviously, while requires 3 things, as you know, some initialization, some test condition, and some increment or decrement. Okay, these are the 3 things in a while loop, which are there in a single line in a for loop. The readability is good in case of a for loop. Okay, and you can see that this variable I starts with 1, and this condition, so long as it's true, whatever is written between loop and end loop is executed that many number of times till the time this condition is true. While you are using while loop, kindly be sure that you use this, you use this variable I properly. Otherwise, if you don't just miss this statement, it would be an infinite loop printing the value of I as 1 infinitely, right? Let's now focus on like what is the actual requirement in PLSQL, what actual code is required. So the first thing that we learn to use in PLSQL is to know how to use the DML in PLSQL. Okay, for that I'll take up a small example with you. So I'll write here usage of DML in PLSQL, and I'll take up a problem. What I'll do here is I will generate, say, 50 whole numbers and display them, and I would also transfer these to a table. Say I can take the name of the table as temp. Okay, transfer these to a table temp. That is the idea behind writing this PLSQL block. I want to generate 50 whole numbers. First thing, then I would display them on screen, and also I would transfer these to a table temp. Obviously, the first step would be to create the table temp. Okay, so I won't be using the DDL right now in PLSQL. I'll do it at a later stage. So we imagine that the table temp has already been created, right? So let's write here declare, and I can write here, say I, take some variable I. We are using whole number, so initial value as 0, right? And then I can write the begin here, and I can use a while loop here, while I is less than or equal to 49, right? So 0 to 49 would be the whole numbers, first 50 whole numbers. Then I can use a loop and loop. I can print these values on screen. Okay, I can print the value of I. I can increment I by 1. And then I can use this insert into statement. So insert into temp values I. That is how you use insert statement, right? Insert into table name, then the values keyword, and this value, there's only one column in this table temp. Okay, so I can write these, transfer these to a table temp having one column, say, of type number, right? So this will do, this will transfer, right? And I can use an end loop here. and I can use an end here. All right, so this is the program. But before I execute this program, I must create this table temp with one column which can hold all the whole numbers, right? So I'll first save it here. Then I will create a table temp. So create table temp, and I can just pick up some number here. Say I can take it as num only. Okay, the column name as num of type number, right? So we are not getting that message table created, because we have set the feedback as off, but the table has been created. You can see this table here. Okay, so we have a table temp, one column name as num and type is number. So now if I just list this code of this file, you see this I would range from 0 to 49, and all those numbers would be printed. I is incremented by 1, and simultaneously I is transferred into this table temp. Okay, so I'm going to run this now. You see all the 0 to 49, the first 50 numbers. And now if you see the contents of the temp table, you will see that the 50 numbers have been transferred to temp. One thing, yeah, you can see some gap in our code here. What we need to do here is, before we increment I here, okay, this should come here, I suppose. I hope you understand that transferring a number before incrementing it. So 0 gets transferred first, okay. So this way, if I run it again, obviously what I can do is I can write here delete temp. Okay, this is a syntax to delete all the records. Delete temp. Okay. So if I now use select start from temp, there is no value, right? So I'll just set the feedback on so that you can see the relevant messages. Select start from temp, no rows because I deleted all the rows. How I deleted? Delete, then the table name. Okay. You can also write delete from table name, right? So from is optional here. Okay. And since there is no condition, then all the records are deleted from here. That is the syntax of delete statement. And if I run it again, okay, then I get all the whole numbers starting from 0 to 49, the first 50 whole numbers. And now if you look at the contents of your table temp, you will see all the values from 0 to 49 in your table that have been transferred. Okay. So this is how you can, you can use your DML statements in your PL SQL block. Okay. So let's now write another problem here. Okay. I'm going to write another problem here. Say, to print the salary of a specific employee from the emp table. Okay. So here I'll use a new statement for you guys. Okay. To print the salary of a specific employee from the emp table, right? This is what I want to do. So I can use a declare here. Then I'll use a begin. Okay. Let's see, this is a structure. Okay, let me see, I want to print the salary in my PL SQL block. Okay, note this program very carefully. So I take some number here, say X as number. I can do one thing here. I can take some variable X, which would hold the salary for me. Okay, right? And then I must pick up the salary of that employee. Can you note this carefully? I must write a select statement, but select in a PL SQL block is written in a different way. Okay, so I'll just put a comment here that we use a select into statement in a PL SQL block. So remember, whenever you are using a select statement, we call it a select into statement. Okay, so just see how it is written. We need to print the salary of a specific employee. So we write here select sal into this. Okay, we cannot write a normal select statement in a PL SQL block. Okay, so select sal into X where, okay, where emp number is equal to. Now we don't know the emp number. We are saying a specific employee, so it could be any employee. Okay, so we can just write here where emp number is equal to, and then you can put some ampersand here and write ENO. You understand what this will do? This will take an input from you with the prompt as enter value for ENO, and that would be matched with this emp number. Okay, so now when you run this code, it would pick up the salary of the employee number that you provide on the command line. Okay, and that salary would be transferred to variable X. Okay, now if that employee is not found, okay, then there would be some problem. Okay, so kindly note, we are going to learn a lot of things in this program, the first good program that we're going to do. So one thing is that we use select into statement in the PLSQL block instead of the select statement. Another thing, okay, is that this select into must return one row only, single row. This select into must return one row only compulsorily. Okay, and if it does not, if it returns 0 rows or multiple rows, we have an exception in our program. Kindly note this thing. I'll just write here, we have an exception. That's it. We have an exception, right? Once I finish writing this program, you can take a screenshot of this. If it returns 0 rows or multiple rows, we have an exception. We have a runtime error. Kindly note this thing. So I'm taking this problem to print the salary of a specific employee from the M table using my PLSQL block, right? And I'm saying that we'll be using a select into statement for this. Then I'm saying select into statement must return only one row. Okay. And if it returns 0 rows or multiple rows, we have a runtime error. Okay. I'll show you all these scenarios. I hope you understood this. So here you can just print that salary. Okay, just to write a simple program first of all. Okay, RDBMS underscore output dot put underscore line salary is, okay, and then you can put this salary here, right? For now, I'll just write this much. You just take a screenshot of this code. Okay, I've declared, taken a number. Okay, I'll vary this code in many ways today. Okay, so just keep on noting all the things. So declare, I've declared this variable. This is of type number. Remember, currently this is of type number because I wanted to hold the salary which I would return with this select into statement. So how do I write here? Select, then the column name. So select salary, whatever salary is there is stored into this variable X. The condition is here. So it could be any employee, whatever employee number I put here at runtime, and then I print that salary. Okay. Now the problem is that if I give an incorrect employee number here, which does not exist, this select would return a 0 row, and there would be an exception. There would be a runtime error. Okay. And by chance, like otherwise we should not be having a multiple rows problem because employee numbers are unique. Okay, so we won't be having this multiple rows problem here in this program. So I'm going to run this code here. I'll first list it on screen for you, then I'll run it. Okay. So it is asking me for employee number. So I'll give an incorrect employee number, say 98. Okay. So we just made one mistake. I'll just correct it. We missed the from clause here. From M, right? This is required. And let's get this A8. Okay. Let's give the employee number as 98. Okay. So this exception is raised. Okay. I gave this employee number as 98. It was matched here with this emp number. There is no emp number with this value 98. So this program jumps to the exception section, which is not there. Okay. This is a runtime error here because this select statement, select sal into X, should return how many rows? Only one row, right? But it is returning 0 rows right now. So it is an error. And this exception, this is a predefined exception with the name as no data found. Okay, I'll just handle it today itself for you. Okay, it's not a big thing. I'll handle it for you currently, right? So, and then what I can do is I can just have a look at all the employees from the M table. Okay, let's pick up when I run it again, the code, I'll give the employee number as 7499. That is Ellen, and its salary is 1600. Okay, so remember, I'm going to use 7499, right? So I'll run this code, start A8, employee number 7499. Okay, so you get salary 1600. And let's see how this has come. When I use this select sal into this from M, where M number I've given 7499. So it would be returning the salary of Ellen here, that is 1600, which gets stored into the variable X here. So when you print X, it prints salary is 1600. Okay, right? One more way you can handle it, say when no row is returned, then I'm going to write something, just see how it works. Okay, if X is null, then can you note this? You can write something like this. You can write here salary is null. So I'm expecting that if this selects into statement returns a 0 row, then obviously nothing goes into X, that is null. And I'm expecting that if this if is encountered, it would be checked. But what happens actually is, the moment there is an exception here, it will just be looking for an exception section, and the remaining code is not executed. So let's see whether this if X is null is picked up or not. Okay. Can you note this thing again? So it does not reach there. That is the idea. You understand the exception mechanism. Okay. It's that maybe I don't know whether you've learned it in C++ or not. You will be learning it in Python also. But how the exception mechanism works, that when this select, gives you a runtime error. This will give you a runtime error if we don't have an employee which exists in the table. So it will be returning 0 rows, so an exception. So the moment it has an exception, it will look for the exception section, whether you've handled this exception or not. If not, then it will end the program like it has done there. You've given 34 here. Okay. So it is saying that the exception is no data found at line 8. Okay. So this is your line 8 where the error has occurred. You can see it, right? Okay. So even this won't work because it won't come to this statement 9. Okay. When you work with your own exceptions, then maybe you can declare an exception, work with it. But if a predefined exception occurs, it will be jumping to the exception section, right? Okay. Now what I can do is, it's a bit too early, but I'll just handle this exception for you. Okay. So I'll just remove these statements here. Okay. And I'll use an exception section here. Kindly take a screenshot when I finish this code also. Right. So when you see, I know what is the name of this exception, because we will be understanding, certain specific scenarios in which exceptions are, found. So when this occurs, this exception is known as no data found. As you can see here, just have a look here. This exception name is no data found. How to write it, I'll tell you, right? And when we encounter this is known as too many rows. This exception name is too many rows. You may note it. So how to handle it? Simple. Just write here when no data found. Okay, like this with underscores. When no data found, then you just print a message. That's it. You can write here no such employee exists, right? And you can write here the employee number also. Okay, that is ENO. Okay, let's see whether we can pick up ENO or not. Right, like this. That's it. That's all you need to write in exception. When, the exception name, then the exception handler, the action that you take. Right now, I've just printed the error because I know that if this type of error occurs, that means the employee with that code is not found, right? So let's see, you can take a screenshot. Let's see how it works, right? Let me give as 89. Okay. So this problem was bound to be there. It says ENO must be declared. Okay. Now, why this error has occurred? Right. It has reached the exception section, right? It has reached from here. It has jumped into exception section. And when you're trying to print ENO, it says it's not available, right? So that means that when we use ENO here, okay, it is just used here only. It is inputted by you and it is active and alive here only, right? So let's see how we can take care of it. Let's try another mechanism here. Let me use a double ampersand here. I think with this double ampersand, the value of ENO will persist through this program. Okay, let's expect this thing to happen here, right? If not, then we'll look for some other mechanism, right? So I list the program. Have a look here now. I've made a change here. I've used a double ampersand here. By double ampersand, what we mean is that the value of this variable ENO would be alive throughout this program. Let's hope that happens. No, it's not working here. Okay. So maybe in a separate statement, we can take it. Okay. Then let's take it in a separate statement here that we can declare ENO here. Okay. We can declare ENO here. And then we can do something like this. This way, I think we would be able to work with it. Yeah, this is also not working, right? Did we run something? It's not even going there. Okay, let's see what needs to be done here. We have declared a variable ENO. Okay, let's just change it from here. Say ENO colon equal to ampersand. Let's write it like this. Okay, ENO this. All right. And now we can use it here in this statement, and we are using it down there also. Let's hope that we get it correct this time. Let's take 89. Yeah. Now it's okay, right? So we have declared this here. We have separated it from there. So whenever we are writing a value, inputting it here, that is active only for that much period only. It would be active there only. You cannot use this variable if you're using an ampersand here in the later part of the program. Okay. So this way now you can see that when this returns a runtime error and exception, and it matches with this exception. Okay. This matches with this exception. No data found. This is the exception here. Okay. So then it will jump from this place to this place and will display the appropriate message. Whatever message you write here, you can write other things also here. Okay. Which I'll discuss in my future discussions with you. Right. And there is another thing that you can do. Suppose you don't know what type of error is going to occur in your code. Okay. You're not sure. Okay. Then if you don't remember the exception name, simply you can write when others. Okay. But the problem here would be that this message might not be a suitable message then, because you don't know what type of error occurs. So whenever you're using when others, it will catch all sort of errors. Whatever error occurs in your code, it would be caught and it would be transferred to this exception section. So here, if you don't know the error, you can write something like error occurred. This is when you don't remember or you don't know what the exception is. So in our exception section, there can be many exception handlers. Okay. So see, first I'll run this much only, right? When others, that means whatever error occurs in my program, it will jump directly to exception section, and this handler will handle all the errors when others, right? But here I'm not sure, so I can write error occurred. I can catch the specific error message also. I'll do that. Okay. Let's first see this. Okay. And let me list the code, then run it. I can give some incorrect number here. So it will display error occurred. Okay. It is picked up this when others. Okay. Now to print the exact error, okay, the error like this. No data found, right? Let's look for that. Yeah, this error along with this number, right? Okay, let's see. Let's look at that. So I'll again try one more variation for you. So when I'm using when others, okay, then I can write here error occurred, and then maybe I can write here SQLRM. Let's try this. Let's see whether it works first time around or not. So this I'm writing SQLRM is a function which displays the error message. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So SQLRM will give you two things. It will give you the error number also, that is ORA 01403, and the error message also. Okay. So you can just put it like this. You can just put it like this. Error is, you can write error number and message is like this, right? And if you run it, okay, so error number and message, you can take it with SQLRM. Okay, there is another function. Let's try that too in today's session. This function is SQLnum. I don't remember exactly. I think this should work. SQLnum or number, let's see, SQLnum, right? And this gives you maybe only the error number. Okay, SQLnum is not working. Okay, let's try one more time. Maybe it's SQL number. Otherwise, SQLRM gives both. So let's see if it is SQL number. If not, then we'll discuss in the next class maybe. No, SQL number is also not working. All right. So we'll look for it. There is another function. So two functions are there. SQL num or number, or maybe the usage is a bit different. Okay. So let's not bother too much about it. We can handle it. We can use this SQLRM to take care of all the errors that we don't know. It will print the error number and the error message. And one more thing I told you, we can have multiple handlers in our exception section, right? Let's see how we can do that, right? So I can write here when others. So I can write here when too many rows. This is another type of error, right? When too many rows. So I can write here message as multiple rows returned by select into, right? I can write something like this here. This is when this type of error occurs, when too many rows, okay? And then I can write here when others. When others, then I can simply write here SQLRM, right? So now what happens that some error, if it occurs here, okay, in this select statement, and let's suppose that error is two underscore many underscore rows. That is, it is returning multiple rows. Then the moment we come to the exception section, it will check for the first handler. If it is matched, then it will display this message and it will come out. Okay. If not, if this does not match too many rows, then it will come to the next handler. And obviously, when it comes to when others, it is always going to match. So remember, whenever you are using multiple handlers in your exception section, write this when others at the end. If you write it in the beginning, it will always match and no other matching can take place, right? So in this problem, this is going to return no data found error. So it won't match with this. So it will match with this and it will give you the error number and the error message. So let's see. Right. So error number and the error message it has given because I'm sorry, this returned no data found. It did not match with this and it would always match with when others. Okay. One more variation. Keep on taking the snapshots here. I'll write here when no data found, right? Then I know that the employee is not there. So employee not found, I can write this message. So any guesses now, if we run it, what it will do? It won't, if I give a employee number which does not exist, okay, then it will give an exception with this name, this exception. So when it jumps to exception section, it will match with this, no data found, and it will give you a message, employee not found. So let's look at this part first, then I'll give you another variation, right? So I give it 76. So it will say employee not found. So it has matched this. So the moment it enters the exception section, it will match one by one. So it is matched with this. One last variation for today. Let's just put it like this. Let's put when others in the beginning. I've told you it's always good to put it at the end. So the moment some error occurs here, it will match and it will always match with others. So it will give you this error. It won't come here, right? Have a look here. We did some error here. We have an error at line 13. Okay, let's see what error it says here. When no data found, then. So it is not allowing us to write it here, right? Okay, then we must write it. We will discuss this. This is a full-fledged topic with in our syllabus, that is exception handling. I've just put it here, started it here so that we can just see how we can write this something in the exception section, right? So I'll write it like this. I'm not ruling out that we cannot write it in the beginning. Okay, right. When no data found and then when others, then obviously it will check with the first one, that is no data found. It will pick up and it will say employee not found. So this is regarding the PLSQL, select into statement, very important statement. You can write a lot of code using this and you can explore a lot of table data and manipulate a lot of table data using this select into statement, but with the restriction that it must return a single row. Okay. So to overcome this drawback of this statement, we'll be using the next concept, that is cursors. That I'll discuss with you in my next discussion. So till that time, keep watching my videos. Thank you very much.